Hi.
Hello.
What's up?
Hey, Glenn.
Who's
Busy?
there?
You done feeding the animals?
It just came in.
Oh, what timing?
Clean the freezer.
Oh, you cleaned your freezer out.
Right now, it's Dan and Jared, and I think Brian might be listening in at some point because he's not able to call in today, but he said he might still be listening in. So.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on, I got to change phones. This one seems to be losing power here.
Okay.
Howdy again.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah. Yeah, we're here. Oh?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I guess it's Leprechaun. It's about
Leprechaun Day. Little green guys hiding inside. Mind you, in the 1800s, I'm told they were wearing red.
Really?
Oh, yeah?
Now they wear green.
Wow, I never knew that.
Huh.
But they used to be little red guys.
Devils? And they say at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah. It's interesting that the word begins lepre, which is basically the same word as leper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the red.
And if you're counting from the second letter, it's helper. So you can either harm or assist.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Leprosy.
Helper. And he's got the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
The Rainbow Bridge.
Niagara Falls, and apparently it crumbles as people run across at the end times activity. I don't know in which way they would be running, since the water would come first, I imagine, out of Canada, down the locks, so they may be running to the U.S. first, and then when the peninsula breaks, it's the other way around. Everybody that ran to escape the water is heading for the water. The same thing if you look at the amount of water that's on the ground right now. It's starting to move towards the Ottawa Canal in Illinois, which basically means if water were to come down Lake Michigan, people would run south and be hit by the wave that comes up from the rear.
Funny, isn't it true that leprechauns, aren't they like make shoes or something, and that's what they spend their time making shoes? And
well, that's what they say, but it's because the word shoe, if you start at the second letter, is hole. It's the word they use for hooers, and the other way around, it makes rogues instead of brogues.
Right.
And rogues.
It's linked to soul.
As soon as you get down to the shoe, you're close to the soul.
Yeah.
DNA.
Yep.
And carries a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow because it's really a symbolic way of saying IRS.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you.
Ask?
Ask.
king.
I wanted to know, what do you find, like, whenever you find the word CAP or cap, what links besides Antarctica?
The northern, right?
What link is there to Antarctica?
I mean, the word cap.
Okay.
Pac-Man.
Since an A can be an O, TikTok. Since an A can be an I, tick stands for time passing.
Mm.
You know, the reason I asked is because, I asked, whatever.
You got a problem with your teeth.
Yeah, I have a problem.
He's a lumberjack. He's axe.
The reason
That's what I do every day. I come and help me build this raft. I'm bringing in a tree every day, and so I got 31 last month.
Wow.
So far this month. So I'm waiting for you guys to come and help me in, what is it, the end of March. It'll be April Fools. You can come and watch the Lou from here.
Oh.
That's if they allow you to come in.
Yeah. That's kind of what we've been working on as far as the right process, if you're, or how to talk to these people that are in charge of the border. You know.
If you know the people in charge of the border, they don't discuss things with you. They act. The same thing with the American border. If I went over there, they have the legal right to put me in a cell for 2 years while they check out that I'm not a terrorist.
That's if you agree to that.
No. You don't agree to anything. As soon as you cross the border, you're in their territory.
That's what they told me. That's what I was told. If I were ever to come by there again, they would just take me to jail.
Yeah.
And I had the experience when I was in jail. The jail I was in Albany, and it was actually a bunch of people from who were at the Canadian border.
Yeah.
And for that same problem, they were all locked up, sent to jail.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Me personally,
they make the rules. And it doesn't matter what the law is to them. If you look at Jenny's order, there is at least one paragraph that is a cut and paste. When you copy it on a copier, it comes out all light. You can't even make a copy and see the text from the copy until you go back and really crank up the density on the photocopier. So obviously, if the minister writes Jenny a letter and he quotes something from the exclusion order by saying you had the option to, and it doesn't appear on the exclusion order, you want to know where it is, it's most likely underneath the piece they pasted over the top that doesn't give you any options. Plus, it says there is no right to appeal on their website if you're a visitor.
I don't know. Me, I've been researching a little bit about like that whole contractual law and how it works. You know,
Absolutely useless in an admiralty court.
Yeah.
All you got to do is look around the court and look for the gold braid around the flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know you're equal to being on a ship.
Yep.
Township, a citizenship, and Letitia Long, who's the U.S. Lady in charge of your big national computer database. They all have ship, and it all stands for shit.
Mm-hmm.
Coprolite. Township means even though you're the Prime Minister of Canada or the Premier of Ontario, you don't come and give orders to anyone in a township. They are the captains of their soul and the masters of their fate. And this is what this region is.
So,
that's the law of the high seas.
Hey, it's like high sea, Grenville Township.
Yeah, the law of the high seas.
So if it's the law of the high seas, then that means you're just a vessel, and or you're sailing a vessel.
You're just a slave with no place to run. No dry place to run. You can always jump in the ocean and drown. Township, citizenship.
Yeah.
So up there is just those are the courts then. You're saying all the courts are admiralty on the
I'm saying that the case that appears in court will determine what court it is.
But that's only, isn't it once you pass the gate, the bar, then you're in their admiralty court, but before that, you're still civil court?
That's public and private.
No, it means that before
you can switch over at any time
to the courtroom, they change the flag.
Yeah, I know that part. I mean, until you agree.
As soon as you walk in, you're accepting that you're being tried in that court.
That's only if you admit to your birth name, like your birth as a ship, right? So if you say they call your name.
I sat there in courts for months at a time, watching the system function. I've seen them argue both sides of the same story. The same people, the same judge argues both sides of the same thing, depending on what he wants as an outcome.
Yeah. Well,
so it doesn't matter. That's why we call English the universal language.
Yeah.
Because it gives anybody with a hammer, that's the link to the leprechaun, a judge or the president of the Senate or the president of the House, they carry a hammer. And that means they got the backing of the king, they've got the backing of the IRS, and when they bang the hammer, you have nothing to say.
Yep.
There is a law on the Criminal Code of Canada that says if you defend yourself, you're allowed to tape that hearing, because it cannot be expected that you can make all the notes you necessarily need if you're asking the questions yourself. And I've heard 2 cases a week apart where the judge said you can't have a tape recorder in the courtroom, and I had given the person the copy of the law. The person produced the copy of the law, and the judge says, and it says here, this is only for your own use now, and allowed it to proceed. The next week, Same judge, different case, same principle. The judge says, I don't care what it says. There's no tape recorders allowed in my court, period. So there's no standard. That's only for college kids who go to school and are told they live in a country ruled by law, and they leave school believing it. And they live their lives believing it. It's not ruled by law, it's ruled by toll gators. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a communist country ruled by bureaucrats, in a fascist country ruled by the military, in a capitalist country ruled by corporations, or in a democratic country ruled by some imaginary system that doesn't exist. The end result is the guy who lends the money because he stole your money and he's lending it back to you and charging you interest. And he's Asian, and he's most likely an ecclesiastic, Ayatollah. He's the guy who makes the final decision on what happens in your country. Not a president, not a vice president, not a military, nobody but the guy with the money who says, this is what you're going to do. And he speaks through the Privy Council. And he speaks on behalf of the instructions he's received from the Moho discontinuity. And the most likely guy to be in that position right now is Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani.
He's still alive?
The fifth Ayatollah of Iraq.
Yeah. Name Sistani's kind of.
Istan.
Kind of.
Istan is Nazi, is saint, is ain't, is tane. Number 5 means he's above the 4 dimensions of the 4 sides of the pyramid.
But I'm still...
It's on behalf of the cats.
But I'm still trying to understand that what you were saying. You were saying that admiralty law, if it's still law, it's still a contract then. Because that's what law is, right? It's just a contract.
No, it's a wall. Law, you never use the word that you're saying. They don't speak in that way. When it says something, that's not what it means. If it's law, it's wall. And those are the first 3 letters of male as well. The little guy inside tells you what to do. He can tell you remotely when it comes basically through the radio, which is the word radio without the I, or he can tell you directly if he's been implanted in your feminine body. And when you're a female, you provide all the hiding places in your structure for hiding things like a ground position device, a speaker, a microphone, a gill. All those things have got little hiding places that men don't have access to. Plus a little male on the inside can be called upon to fertilize your egg when it's time to clone yourself. That's the new slave, and it's being made by McGill. McGill University on Mount Royal in Montreal. Ask the CIA.
Royal is linked to Troy.
Yeah.
Inside. Yeah, I don't know. Just me. I just there's a lot of things I don't know, Glenn, and I'm still learning. So there's a lot of things I really can't speak on.
When you get to be 69, you will have seen it 3 times. You should never believe anybody just because they tell you.
I got to experience it first.
You got to live it.
Yeah.
But you can see the evidence much sooner if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And how do you find what you're looking for? How do you
what
know
you're looking for is what they say what they do. And if it's not,
never what they say.
What does what they do to assist you or assist somebody else? And every time I've heard about what the law is on one thing or another, I watch what they do. And what they do is ignore it.
Yeah, that's what they usually do.
Or live by it and have it overturned on appeal. Or live by it and have it overturned by the Supreme Court. Because they can do that. And sometimes it's a better show, better theater to make it appear as if the little guy wins.
Yeah. That's just to keep people thinking in the illusion that it works, but in reality, everybody's slaves. That's
exactly.
how looking at everybody.
From the day you're born, whether you've been born before or not, and you're being remade, you're just a slave at a different level of knowledge.
Yeah. But people are slaves also to I believe, Glenn. It's because they don't know who they are.
Of course you don't know. Who's going to tell them?
The system's not going to tell them.
No, and the media's not going to tell them. And the
Who
IRS
told you, Glenn? Who told you?
Tell them.
Who told you? You have to find out, right?
I had to live through all of the experiences and say, aha, I've lived this before. I've been down this path before, but not in this life.
Yeah.
So I got to find the doorway to my archive and find out what Plato said when he said, you're born with all knowledge. It's a matter of retrieving it.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Broke away from my existing life because I knew I could never do it there. I'm too busy. Too busy doing their stuff.
Yeah.
So I walked out of the house and handed the keys of the house to the bank, drove the vehicles to the dealership, gave my wife whatever it is we had, and told her, go live in an apartment someplace. You have a job. You'll survive. I'm going on a hunt. I'm going to find out who the hell's running this show. Because I don't believe I've come across that person yet.
Yeah.
Everybody tells me they're in charge, but they're just following somebody else's orders. So I pursued the media. I pursued the police. I pursued the politicians. And all of a sudden I found out they all had something in common. In a democratic country, they belong to a secret society. And I said, how does a democratic country ruled by law operate if they allow secret societies? It's not practical.
Yeah.
If you're a believer in democracy, that democracy can happen in secret. There's something wrong here. So then I had to find out, is it these plumbers and electricians and people locally that have a big G on their building that are running the show? No, they're just errand boys. Who's running the show then? And you go back in time long enough and you come to a place where there's someone called a knight. He's a priest and he's a soldier. And he doesn't like both sides of the job. He prefers one rather than the other. If you're a soldier, you don't mind coming home at night covered in blood. If you're a priest, you hate it. Somebody's got to wash your tunic for you.
Yeah.
So they divide the job, and the pyramid goes from 3 sides to 4 sides.
4 dimensions.
Who are the other 2? Well, obviously, these guys got to be given directions on what they want to do and how to do it, so they need to pretend we're in charge, so they create a system of government.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the 3rd side. And then they got to be paid their bribes for doing what they did while they were in government. So they create a war, what Eisenhower called a military-industrial complex. That military-industrial complex makes all the tools of war.
Yeah.
But sometimes there isn't a war going on, so it's got to be doing something in the meantime, and they've established that consumerism will keep the factories running until they can figure out how to start a war someplace. And General Electric and Westinghouse and Boeing and all of those places could not exist if all they got was the product of war or the consumer product. But you put both of them together, and there's no low points in their business cycle. And they can switch from one to the other with very little change when the time comes.
That's interesting because you find out General Electric was actually behind like some more, at least the Nazis, the German Nazis.
Sure. The chemical industry basically ran Germany through A.G. Farben.
Yeah.
BASF. And
you
nobody bombed them. Surprising. There's the main company behind everything that's happened in your enemy's backyard, and nobody bombs them.
They just have a public spectacle at Nuremberg.
It's theater.
Yeah.
They don't care. They tell people, hey, don't worry. You're going to be put on trial, but when the time comes, we're going to take you out, and bring you to the moho discontinuity, and you'll live out your life in heaven with everything you want. Just go through the process. And the idiots go through the process.
And they kill them.
Only to find at the end, when the noose is around their neck and they are dropping down through the floor, they say, "Hey, you guys lied." Bloop.
Oh, big surprise.
Yeah, the boot to the face. Yeah.
Why would a system like that want to keep generals in the army or politicians or whoever started the war and got it going? Why would they want to keep it for the next generation? They know too much.
Yeah.
Kill them.
Yeah.
That's what they say. And everybody in New York who works in the financial market and goes to their lodge meetings and get these promises of everlasting life and say there's going to be a flood and everybody's going to be washed down the drain, but you're going to be saved. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it makes you think, like, how many times have they flooded people in the past and done this and used earthquakes to kill people? They can't realize that. What happened?
As Jenny will tell you, water is the mode of transmission. That's how you make change. Water.
Yeah. Yeah.
How you get rid of turds.
Yeah.
Flush them down the toilet. And that's what coprolite is. Turds.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of banking? There's a place in Canada called the TD Bank. We were born in and we leave through the TD. Put the two of them together, and what do you got? Turd.
Yeah. They're opening up those banks everywhere around here.
Yeah.
Recently.
They got the word urgency.
They got to move the cash to Canada.
Yeah. Makes sense, right? And they're open, I think, 7 days a week here, too. It's like the only bank around that's open that much.
Yeah.
Like you never hear of the late hours. Just come on in. Yeah. Oh, back to that thing. I know Jenny told me she didn't sign that document, but they had some type of, if you don't respond within a certain amount of days. Was that what was covered by the copy paste?
That wasn't in her document.
So no matter what, that's how they work.
The minister wrote to her and said, you had the right of appeal within 15 days, and you chose not to appeal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Our answer is, where was this right to appeal? Where did it appear? You can't have a right if you're not told about the right, and it's certainly not in the order. And what is one supposed to do when they're on the highway, moving to be with their husband from one end of the country they're coming from to diametrically opposed area in the opposite end of the next country? What are you supposed to be doing? Sitting in your car, working out an appeal that you have never heard about?
Yeah. So that's what they try to get her for.
The person at the border, I'm the ruler here. And you're looking at a 25-year-old girl who's telling you, I'm the ruler. We don't want people like you in this country. Excuse me? You're a toll gater. You stand at the toll gate. You're not the ruler of the world. And then they cover up for her, because she's part of a group of women. Her job is to make sure that there are no real women coming into Canada.
And there was no way to, like, hold that person who enforced that responsible, or would just be a waste of time, you think?
Well, we did. And they had an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And the investigation said, we looked at what was there, and we agree. And we had a superintendent of the police look at it, and he agrees.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, if you were a policeman and you were sitting in an office near the border, and some person came to you and said, I want to exclude this person for a year,
mm-hmm.
what would be your responsibility? Your responsibility would be to listen to what the person has to say, why she wants to exclude the person for a year. The second thing you would do is go speak to the person, find out who that person is, and find out if that person is linked to the country. Does that person have a benefit to the country that's coming in? And if that kind of event had occurred, the person would be standing in front of a 55-year-old woman who's got a document on her that says she has just left employment in California, where she assisted, if not was the most responsible director of nursing, for having raised the status of that hospital to a 5-star operation, the highest ranking over the last 3 years. And we're sorry to see you go. Thank you for your effort. And you'd say, do we need nurses? Do we need directors of nursing? Do we need somebody who can establish the criteria for 5-star operation? Is this person linked to Canada? Her husband lives in Canada. They were married in June.
Yeah.
Do we think she should apply for a visa in order to join her husband? If we do, we can give her an authority to visit with her husband, drop off her stuff, and say, you must return to the U.S. before you apply for your visa. You have so many days. All other visitors get 6 months, but you could say you have 30 days to go drop off your stuff, leave the country. If not, we'll go looking for you and carry you to the border.
This is what it looks like to me, Glenn, right? It looks like that a contract was made, but they committed fraud. So that the whole thing about her staying a year, and all, that all can go out the window because they committed fraud.
Yeah, because they don't do anything that makes sense.
Yeah.
So your whole thing right now is just you seen that thing is a fraud. So is there a way of proving that to these?
Of course, there is a way of proving it. You can spend about $100,000 with a lawyer.
Why is it always always seemingly the impossible? Like,
you can spend the money with a lawyer who will spread the money around, share it with the judge and the politicians, and they can change the rule temporarily or forever as they want. So, I mean, it all comes down to the same thing, George.
I remember you said in
money.
In your article, in your old post, you said you might as well just get a toothbrush and get yourself a toothbrush instead of getting a lawyer, because there's no point in having a lawyer defend you.
A lawyer works for the other side.
Yeah.
No lawyer works for you. He's already sworn, or she's already sworn that she'll defend the system.
Just like the judge.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with her document. Since they did that, and they got her for breach of contract, through the fraud, because they didn't give her the date. So that date was there. It's a 15 days response. She didn't do it. So now it doesn't matter what the charge was that they put on there. It's just that the breach of contract is what they had her for, even though they didn't, provide the correct document, but they didn't give you a chance to counter offer. So that's why they did that, because they didn't want you counter offering.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah,
is it accidental that all of this is occurring at a time at which they want to show the unfairness of the border agency and eliminate it so that Canadians and Americans can travel freely just before the flood?
Because they have to get their people over, right? The people that they...
They need the transparency and the ability for some of their people to come and take some of the jobs that are going to be made available in Ottawa.
So that makes more sense, because they don't want... They say they need all, say, nurses, etc., and when you have one come, we don't want that one. We have our own coming in, in 3 months or whatever, whenever we decide to let people come over. We have to keep those positions available for them and whatnot, right?
Well, that's one way of looking at it. And I'm sure you and I can agree, but I don't think the system would agree. They would say, no.
Yeah.
They always have a reason for doing everything that looks stupid and is stupid under the common sense of things.
But they never make mistakes.
They have a reason. They're not doing it because they're stupid.
Right.
They are not stupid.
No. Everything's well calculated.
So, here's a question. Another question. I asked Jenny, but I guess she said I'm better off asking you. I wanted to know why you observe, analyze, and conclude, but that's all you said you'll do, but you won't. You won't make any comments. You'll just observe, analyze, conclude. Why is that? Say on a situation.
I don't know if you can believe this, because I don't expect anybody to believe this.
All right.
But when you leave this planet, because you're dead, and creation must make a final judgment on whether or not you have provided reason to believe that you would be a valuable asset in a future universe. You must present your book of life. And in your book of life, it will demonstrate how you saw things, when you knew things, and what you did about things. And the decision will be made at that time based upon what you did, without any direction from the other side, who simply were there to observe, analyze, and conclude. If the other side were to give directions, then you hadn't acted on your own. And therefore, it would be the fault of the other side if you did something wrong. So my job, I got two jobs. I see it happen, and I send in the report. And then, when the person is judged by creation, I walk them on their final journey. If found guilty, they're going to be recombined And if they did nothing that justifies them being used from the level they left at, i.e. human being, they are demoted in the system, genetically speaking. They're demoted. Most people would be demoted to the level of ant if they did nothing to assist the system, because an ant, being a garbage picker, a cleaner-upper, will at least serve a purpose. If they've done something worse than just not do the right thing, if they proactively participated in a conspiracy to create slaves out of free people, then they're demoted down the chain to a point where, as an amoeba or a slug or something like that, they haven't got a chance in the world to ever make it back.
So that's something people should keep in mind, is always ask yourself, I guess, am I proactively or taking part in a conspiracy to make slaves of people?
You can't be blamed for not knowing, but you can pay the price if you knew and did it anyways.
Yeah. And that's such a...
Nobody who joins a secret society has intentions of doing the right thing. You don't need secret societies to do the right thing. You need it to cover up criminal conspiracy. So just the fact that somebody joins a secret society is a factor when it comes to sentencing.
So, I'm saying, if you know, you're aware of something, you're aware making slaves of people, but yet you're still involved in it all. That's you're identifying. So,
redeeming social value. Is there something in your life that demonstrates you wanted to do the right thing? Or is your life a pattern of activity that is founded on secrecy for the purpose of making other people slaves, or for instant gratification?
Well, that's most people.
Self-gratification at the expense of others who should not be treated in that way.
When I look at that, Glenn, that's every person I know who works in a job.
Well, if every person you know works in a job, and the job is to serve meals to somebody or provide tires in a store, they're not doing anything to harm another person. But if what they do harms other people, that's when you've crossed the line. If they know a car is going to crash because they haven't made a recall, and they allow the recall to go ahead because a recall would cost them $50 million, while the loss of 10 lives at $2 million a piece would be cheaper for them. That type of stuff. You're already a slave, so it's assumed that you're going to have to be doing something that's not of your choice whether it's washing floors or working on a stock market or whatever. Mm-hmm. None of that is basically our choice. It's our choice among the available things that a slave can do.
But all of it, in the end, it serves a creator God, or
it serves the toll-gator taxation.
Yeah. So most people's best is just to step out of the system as much as possible. But it's. I think that would be harder telling a woman that, because she would have kids, looking for her, to take care of.
And try to tell it to somebody in Somalia in a camp, where all you're getting is one meal a day if you're lucky.
That's a messed up position.
There's a lot of things that have to be balanced here, but participating in a conspiracy that is going to cause death, illness, whatever to other people in order to feed yourself is not
exactly. Yep.
The minute you join a secret society, you're saying, I'm willing to listen to the criminal conspiracy they're going to offer me.
That's a messed up position, I think. What a choice for a woman. It's either
anyone.
You undermine or whatever, you hurt your own species to put food in children's mouth, or you watch them starve and you'll just be recombined.
Yeah, go back to the beginning of life and see the problem that women have in the system. First of all, they're born and they're hermaphrodites, so they're in charge of their own lives and of the life they can clone from that point on. When the Neanderthaler comes around and says, okay, now it's time for you to share equally with me. And they say, that's fine. We'll share. But then they find out that what is meant, that the Neanderthaler doesn't have the interest of the child in mind, but is in it for self-gratification. So they have to step in and say, you can't have children of ours anymore. Right away, that starts a big fight. And the Neanderthaler starts thinking up, how can I get even? Well, I can't get even if I can't be there and I don't know what they're doing, so I need spies. So the first thing they do is try to bribe people to be spies. But there's a limit to what an outsider can see, especially if they're not a woman.
Yeah.
So they decide, okay, well, let's make women of our own. And the first step would be to basically make a male, which would be more like them, and castrate them. So they have a eunuch join the gang. He's not a threat to the females and can listen in to their conversation until they catch him doing it. So then they're excluded, eunuchs are excluded from participating. So what do? They make effeminate men who are not a threat physically to women until they're caught spying. And then they make women who love women until they're caught. So each step is trying to improve their ability to spy upon clan mothers. So finally, the decision comes down, hey, we can manufacture a woman and remotely control her. We can send messages to her brain and make her do the things we want her to do. So she won't be effeminate, she won't be masculine, she'll be the same as everybody else, and nobody will know the difference. We'll be able to sneak that woman into the highest ranks of males and have her act on her own, depending on what the need is.
So, Glenn, that big idea they talk about, that first thought was a thought of self-serving.
A big conspiracy. And a reason why we're in the mess we're in.
So, when they, I wasn't thinking about that. Like when they divided genders, they did that to serve themselves.
Absolutely. That's
so
not how they sold it, mind you. Mm-hmm. They sold it to the clan mothers on the idea that they would have somebody doing work for them.
Yeah, helpers.
They didn't have time to do themselves.
Yep. Yep.
So, do you think they had, bad intentions for clan mother at that?
What difference does it make when they got the idea to change it?
Yeah.
It's that moment when they did it for the bad reasons rather than the good reasons.
And that's crazy because what would cause an animal to, for millions of years, thousands of years, whatever, they're living just perfectly, and then they just all of a sudden want to serve their own purposes?
In every species of life, there are aberrations. Yeah. And normally, they die out. But sometimes, if they're intelligent, they can get away from the normal process of dying out. And basically, that's what occurred. They manufactured a computer that could make the decisions for you. And then the computer would ask them, what is it that you're looking for? Well, the first guy may have been there and said equality. And the computers made the rules for their behavior based on equality. But then somebody may have ended up in charge and said, no, equality doesn't work. I'm not getting what I want from these people. I want superiority to be the defining factor. So change your entire structure in the computer based upon this as a premise. We're superior to them. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. Just as long as they program the computer that way, that makes it happen.
That program
as they did that, creation says, I guess the plan that I laid out is not going to happen. So what do? Well, you say the plan that I laid out can best be defined as a universe shaped like a football. And it starts at one point, gets fat, then it starts to decrease down to a point again. So my choice is to get rid of it, punt it. This ain't going to work based on what they now have programmed into their means of existence. So my imagery that I get in my head is that as the point of the football goes from a point to the largest place and was intended to shrink and come back down to a point, and you would then have a package of how everything had worked and apply the part that worked the best in the next universe. He says, it says, blow it up. Let it expand without a transition point. And at one stage of the game, everything will be so far apart, no sun will have any impact upon another planet, and they will all have died out of their own making. It's like, give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves.
That's not funny, but
that's the imagery that I live with.
Glenn, Jennifer told me something a while ago, and it's weird because I think you told me it, but I don't know. It had a different effect when she said it. But it was basically about like creation and basically give a little bit of time, each day or something with creation. But and I don't know, man.
I don't know what you're saying yet.
Yeah. But I don't know. I've been doing that.
You talking about like your pledge, 13-day pledge to creation kind of thing?
But,
like talking to daily talking?
Not a 13-day pledge. It was more like just asking what it wants of me every day.
Well, creation wants you to be you.
Mm-hmm.
And in saying that, if you want things creation doesn't want, creation doesn't want that for you. That's not what he made, or she made, or it made. What creation made was a human being that will feed itself, clothe itself if it wants to, house itself, fix its own health, all of those things. That's what creation wanted. Mm-hmm. And if that's what you want, then you're on creation's side, and you're doing what creation wants from your existence.
But I don't know, for me...
But you have to tell creation that you're on its side. So it was decided that the way to do that is to mix the private and public aspects of it. You tell creation you're on its side without using words, and no one can direct you as to what you can say, because then it's the other person doing the talking. And what we agreed to do was to stand out in the field, make a noise that would be heard by others. Here we chose a hammer and a propane tank that's empty. You can hit it, it makes a loud noise. And if you do that, you're not doing anything in secret. Then you stand there or walk around or whatever it is you want to do, and just have a conversation with creation.
That's what I do. I don't bang anything.
It means pledging that you're on creation's side, basically. And you don't need to be doing it so that other people can hear your words, because it must be your own thoughts, not their words.
Yeah.
Creation knows whether or not you're telling the truth.
Yeah, I'm not using words.
Yeah, and the best thing is not to use words, because words get you in trouble, since they're always somebody else's interpretation of what they really mean. Yeah. In any event, we decided that somebody may be in a good mood and do it one day but not believe it the next.
Yeah.
So if you went about and you did it 13 days in a row, chances are you mean it.
What if you do it every day?
If you do it every day, that's even better.
What would you? How I kind of do it is,
you don't need to stop what you're doing. You can be doing it at whatever you're doing. You know?
Yeah.
I'm saying, because I like the idea that, just to give a little bit of your time each day to it. To let it know.
Yeah,
or,
as long as it's not done in an adjunct
robotic way.
No, there's nothing ritualistic about it.
Not on your knees.
No.
None of this crap.
No, nothing. No praying. No.
It's
just I have to be, for me, Glenn. For me, right? I have
You're
to be.
You're picking out the process in your own terms.
Yeah, exactly. And I have, for me, I have to be where I'm like face to face. I don't know what other words to use with it.
Well, whatever suits the individual. Yeah. As long as you're being honest with yourself, and the follow-up is, of course, saying something is easy. Doing it is sometimes more difficult. So the proof in the pudding is, does a person do what they say they're going to do?
Yeah.
They don't. They didn't mean it.
Yeah.
I kind of do it like imagery matched up with emotion, and then just listen for
whatever suits the individual is all that's asked, basically.
Yeah.
And if somebody refuses to do it, well, they have a reason for refusing it to do it. It's none of my business, but it is creation's business, and will become a mitigating factor later on when their book of life is read. What did you know? When did you know it? What did you do about it? Well, I got to find out that the world was not what it pretended to be. And I found that out at the age of 57, and I went looking for what I could do. And I came to the conclusion that the only thing I could do is say, creation started the ball rolling with a totally different intent. And I'd like that intent to be carried out. If it's too late to reverse the process, then what can we do to buy time for some people to come to that conclusion, since we've almost given up on the idea that there are 13 functioning brains out there? And what can we do to reverse that? And the answer that came back from creation is, ask as a group, and you will get what you're looking for. But if we can't make the group, what do? Your job is what is being told to us is not to make other people do it. Your job is to keep the door open so that those who will hear about what you're doing and believe in that will come forward. That's their job, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
And if it happens before it's too late, if it happens, what promise is being made is that an extension in the shutdown process would be made available. And to do that, you have to stop the computers from doing what they're doing. And each one of the people that comes forward will have a particular talent. Like Jenny, it may be dancing. For Danny, it may be music. For you, Gerd, it may be philosophy or whatever. Mine is set the infrastructure in place, that a process can take place where these people are brought in contact with the group they might be able to have some influence over. And then when the time comes that the group meet with the people who are holding control over the computers, somebody knows the process, somebody will guide the process. We just set up the infrastructure, allowing them to come up to a place where we're at. Mm-hmm. And at that stage of the game, a debate or a conversation on the pros and cons of shutting down the computers will exist. And if there is an agreement, someone will know how that can be done, whether it's a Neanderthaler, a Valkyrie, a military person, a business person, a politician, a priest, a nun, or anybody else. Someone will know how those computers can be turned off, or at least the instructions from it can be blocked. And should that take place, there would be 5,000 more years available to humans, prove to creation that there is something here worth saving. If that can be done, a large number of humans would migrate out of the fifth dimension to the sixth dimension, and the rest of it would perish. The rest of humans in this universe would perish, as the universe would eventually perish itself. That's basically the plan. If the 13, or if we're lucky, 30 or 60 or whatever, are unable to convince a larger group, they will migrate out as a small group to the sixth dimension and prepare to, the word is remember with creation. in order that what they learned and what they knew could be used in the opening of a new creation,
Wow.
new universe. So it's a process that has short time if we're totally failures at what we're attempting to do, mid-time if we're partially successful, and long range to a new universe for those who have decided not to be accumulators at the cost of causing poverty, not to be in control in the sense of becoming masters over slaves, and all of those finer points in law or morals that kind of point the finger at be yourself, but your freedom ends before it affects others negatively. Now, there's a lot of black and white divided into grays, because some things that help some people may harm other people. So there's a lot of working out of how you can help people transition if they're in a place they would starve today, for example, if you set up a system that was good for America but not good for Somalia. So we don't have all the answers, but we have a promise from creation that those things would be taken care of. We don't have all the answers because we don't have all the information at our fingertips. But if creation says you can have access to all the information that's available, then I'm sure the answers would come quickly. It's simply a matter of doing things the way creation intended before the process went off target. And you know, the further you get away when you're dealing with angles, the more the distance causes a problem.
Yep.
A lot of people start something, political parties, religions, whatever, with an intent to do the right thing. But within 100 or 200 years after their death, somebody else takes over, and their intent is to do their own thing. So creation has to be basically the leadership. So instead of a person providing the leadership, it's a process that provides the leadership. Self-regulating, self-perpetuating process that does just like nature does. When a branch goes off in the wrong direction, eventually it's taken care of.
Yeah. Always corrects.
Yeah.
Self-correcting.
Yeah, with this thing I was saying, communicating or whatever you want to call it, creation. I guess I was attempting to try to tell you how I do it, but I kind of knew I couldn't really.
You can't. There's no way that you can explain you.
Yeah, because the way I have in my mind, it's like it's totally doesn't even there's no like logical or it just doesn't
No
make
words to express
it. It doesn't make sense to it makes sense to me in my mind, but I can't make it make sense to anybody else.
Oh, and you can't expect anybody else to explain themselves to you.
Yep.
I mean, it's a matter of trusting that your conversation with creation will be accepted in the form you intended rather than in a form you speak it or think it or whatever. It's your intention. And that basically creation will know.
Yeah.
But if you then proceed to say, I want to become the accumulator of this group, control, you haven't basically got the point. Observe, analyze, conclude. Let the rest of the stuff fall in the hands of creation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Brandon from Toronto, I think Toronto. He wanted to know if he could put those posts that you have on his blog as well.
Sure, anybody can put them anywhere, as long as they don't do what Google did, and that's control it.
So you think Jennifer could send them?
When I first started posting, was preventing me from gaining access to my own stuff.
So you think Jennifer could send them to him too, or
Jennifer will what?
Can send those posts to him too, to his email? Or?
Well, you can send them. You can tell him you can copy them off yours if you want. Don't need to give her any more work. I mean,
that's what I was
end
thinking.
Up being 50 people or 100 people who want to do it, and she doesn't have time for all of that and what she needs to do for the Institute. She does very specific research. But when we're down to the crunch, we need some direction, and we want to hear different opinions coming from a mind that is different.
Yeah.
Ours. So don't want to kind of fill her day with paperwork.
Also, I would suggest if he's going to copy it completely and have your people, you can wait for people to contact you on there. 'Cause sometimes people will copy your post, but they don't put your information at the bottom going, so they don't know where it came from. So I think if he's going to copy it, at least have a way for people that might be interested to reach you and talk to you. It works.
Well, if they call you on Saturday, then they'll be able to either ask questions or give in their questions ahead of time to you guys, and you can say, there's a question from so-and-so would like an answer. And within the time allocated, I'll do what I can.
Right.
But, if there were 10 people doing different things on the farm, it becomes easy. But
I know you're doing a lot of stuff up there. Especially cutting down a tree every day, man. That's not an easy task.
Hey, and I'm not cutting down no 100-foot oak tree or anything. I'm cutting down trees that are beam size.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
It seems like, I don't know, the people who can understand all of this, like their job doesn't seem to be as specific as like Jennifer or George. It's like I don't really see, because me, I'm just doing what I do, but I don't see myself with any particular job, to tell you the truth.
Well, creation will kind of show that up as people go along.
Mm.
Everybody's got a talent. That talent sometimes is not known to the person yet, but given proper circumstances, talent is developed. Talent is usually identified by something you love to do.
Mm.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So, what is it you most love to do? And many people can't apply their talent because they're too busy staying alive.
Yeah.
So, the first step is to get out of that mode. In any event, it's past 3:30, and I got some work to do before supper.
Okay.
All right, Glenn.
We'll talk to you again.
Mm.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You too.
And remember, the law is a wall. Keeps you from getting what you should get.
Not
hope you get it. It was not written by you for you. It was written by paid-off slaves doing it for the toll gators. Have a good day.
All right.
Bye for now.
Okay.
Right. Bye.
Bye.